The Grand Medical Forum of the Galactic Core buzzed with an energy that made even the crystalline beings vibrate in their seats. Dr. 6427, a renowned xenobiologist whose amorphous form shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, adjusted the holoprojectors with his field manipulators. Behind him, the massive display showed environmental readings that caused several audience members to emit involuntary distress signals. Distinguished colleagues, he began, his translator converting his photonic pulses into standard galactic common. What you're about to witness will fundamentally challenge everything we know about biological adaptation and survival. The readings floating in the air caused several senior researchers to recalibrate their sensory organs. Gravity, 3.4 times standard. Radiation levels, 847% above lethal threshold. Temperature variations, 400 degrees Kelvin. Daily pressure fluctuations, equivalent to the crush depth of a gas giant's core. These are the environmental conditions of Nexus VI. Dr. 6427 continued. A planet we classified as absolutely uninhabitable. No known species could survive there for more than a few minutes, yet we found someone who did. Not just survived, but thrived. The audience's attention crystallized as footage appeared, showing a makeshift shelter constructed from spacecraft debris and local minerals. Outside, a figure moved with surprising grace despite the crushing gravity, maintaining what appeared to be a jury-rigged atmospheric processor. Commander Isabella Rodriguez, Earth Defense Force. Dr. 6427's form pulsed with excitement. Her survey vessel, the Horizon Seeker, suffered catastrophic drive failure during a routine mapping mission. The crew evacuated, but Isabella's escape pod was damaged, forcing her to make an emergency landing on Nexus VI. That was 8 months ago. The declaration caused a wave of disbelief to sweep through the assembly. A hive mind representative actually split into its component consciousnesses from shock. Dr. 6427 continued, displaying medical scans that defied conventional biology. When our rescue team found her, we expected to recover remains. Instead, we found this. The footage showed Isabella inside her shelter, calmly maintaining equipment she had constructed from salvage. She had not only survived but had established a functional research station. Using crashed ship components and local materials, she created a sustainable environment and even conducted scientific studies of the planet's unique mineral formations. The medical scans rotating in the air told an impossible story. Isabella's bones had densified to cope with the gravity. Her cells had developed new mechanisms to handle the radiation. Her very DNA had adapted to protect itself from degradation. Look at these cellular structures, Dr. 6427 highlighted, his excitement causing his photonic patterns to strobe. Her mitochondria have evolved to use the high radiation levels as an additional energy source. Her blood chemistry has altered to process atmospheric toxins. She developed completely new proteins to protect against pressure damage. The assembly erupted in scientific debate. A gas-based intelligence near the front actually condensed partially from shock. Dr. 6427 waited for the commotion to settle before delivering the most astounding revelation. But here's what truly challenges our understanding of biology, he continued, displaying comparative scans. These adaptations occurred within weeks. According to everything we know about evolution and biological adaptation, this should be impossible. When we asked Commander Rodriguez about this extraordinary feat, her response was illuminating. The recording played. You do what you have to do. Isabella's voice was calm, almost casual. The first few weeks were rough, sure. But humans are pretty good at adapting when we need to. Besides, I had research to conduct. Those mineral formations have properties that could revolutionize shield technology. Dr. 6427's form rippled with what his colleagues recognized as amazement. She didn't just survive. She turned one of the deadliest environments we've ever encountered into a scientific opportunity. The technical innovations she developed using salvaged equipment and local resources are already being studied by our engineering divisions. The presentation continued, showing Isabella's improvised laboratory, her detailed research notes, and the sophisticated equipment she had constructed from crash debris. She had even developed a method to use the planet's intense radiation to power her shelter, a feat that violated several theories about energy conversion efficiency. This discovery forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth, Dr. Zix 427 concluded. Our understanding of biological limits was fundamentally flawed. Humans don't just survive. They adapt, innovate, and thrive in conditions we deemed impossible. Commander Rodriguez didn't merely endure Nexus Vivi. She conquered it, and in doing so, she opened new frontiers in our understanding of life itself. The assembly sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. Humanity had just demonstrated that the impossible was merely inconvenient, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Krell-9, the chief xenophysiologist of the Galactic Science Academy, floated in his containment field as he reviewed the latest data streams from Nexus Vitae. His crystalline neural network sparkled with activity as he processed the impossible readings before him. Resume observation log, day 47 of human adaptation study, he dictated, his thought patterns converting to standardized research notation. Commander Rodriguez continues to defy our established models of biological adaptation. The monitoring feeds showed Isabella at work in her expanded shelter, now 3 times its original size. She had discovered that the local mineral formations, when exposed to specific radiation frequencies, could be shaped into building materials stronger than reinforced starship hull plating. The subject's latest innovation is particularly noteworthy, Dr. Krell-9 continued, focusing on Isabella's newest creation. Using salvaged components from her pod's navigation system and what she calls basic chemistry, she has developed a method to synthesize breathable atmosphere from Nexus VI's toxic gas mixture. The footage showed Isabella working with a complex array of tubes and chambers, all cobbled together from crash debris and local materials. She had named her creation the better-than-nothing breathing box, a designation that caused considerable confusion among the alien researchers. Her capacity for improvisation extends beyond mere survival, Dr. Krell-9 noted, switching to another feed. Observe her latest research project. The screen showed Isabella carefully cultivating what appeared to be crystal formations in a makeshift greenhouse. She had discovered that certain mineral structures on Nexus VI exhibited properties similar to organic life, and was attempting to develop a sustainable food source from them. Dr. Krell-9's assistant, a quantum consciousness named Vox, manifested beside him. The latest physiological scans have arrived, Vox announced, projecting a holographic display. They're unprecedented. The scans showed Isabella's cellular structure in microscopic detail. Her bone density had increased by 47% to cope with the crushing gravity. Her skin had developed new layers that filtered out lethal radiation. Most remarkably, her digestive system had evolved to process materials that should have been completely indigestible. Note for the record, Dr. Krell-9 said, subject has begun referring to her mineral-based nutrition supplement as rock candy. When questioned about the name, she displayed what humans call humor. The significance of this psychological adaptation cannot be overstated. The observation continued as Isabella worked on what she called Project Groundbreaker. Using her growing understanding of Nexus VI's unique properties, she had begun developing new technologies that could revolutionize several fields of science. She's not just surviving anymore, Vox observed, its quantum patterns shifting with amazement. She's innovating, creating. These designs for radiation-resistant materials alone could advance our shield technology by centuries. Dr. Krell-9 focused on a particularly interesting sequence. Isabella had discovered that the planet's intense magnetic fields could be harnessed using the crystalline formations she'd been studying. She was building what she called a gravity dampener, using principles that the Galactic Science Academy had deemed theoretically impossible. The human capacity for adaptation appears to be more than merely biological, Dr. Krellmine noted. Their minds adapt as readily as their bodies. Commander Rodriguez has internalized environmental conditions that would drive most sentient species to madness, and instead views them as tools to be used. The feeds showed Isabella testing her gravity dampener, the device creating a bubble of normalized gravity around her. She celebrated its success by doing what she called the victory dance, another behavior that puzzled the alien researchers. Perhaps most remarkable, Dr. Krellmine continued, is her persistent drive to not merely survive, but to understand and improve her situation. When asked why she continues her research despite the extreme conditions, her response was telling. The recording played, "Look, if I'm going to be stuck on the galaxy's worst vacation spot, I might as well make it worth something. Besides, these crystals are fascinating. Did you know they respond to thought patterns? Pretty sure I can use that for something useful." Dr. Krellmine's crystalline form vibrated with what his colleagues would recognize as excitement. We must revise our understanding of human adaptability. It's not merely a survival mechanism. It's a fundamental aspect of their nature. They don't just endure hostile environments. They study them, understand them, and ultimately master them. Vox processed this information, its quantum state fluctuating. The implications for our classification systems are significant. If one human can achieve this much in less than a standard cycle, what are they truly capable of? The observation feeds continued to record as Isabella worked on her next project, something she called a weather control prototype. She had theorized that the planet's crystalline structures could be used to influence its deadly storm patterns. Final note for today's log, Dr. Krellmine concluded. We must consider the possibility that our definition of impossible requires significant revision. Commander Rodriguez has demonstrated that human ingenuity, combined with their remarkable adaptability, creates something beyond our current scientific understanding. They don't merely overcome obstacles, they transform them into opportunities. The feed showed Isabella sketching plans for what appeared to be a planetary-scale engineering project, humming a tune as she worked. In the crushing gravity and lethal radiation of Nexus VI, she had found not just a way to survive, but a laboratory for innovations that would change the galaxy. Dr. Krellmine added one final observation. Perhaps the most remarkable adaptation humans possess is their ability to view the impossible as merely a temporary inconvenience. Further study is clearly required. End log. The Galactic Medical Council's emergency session was in chaos. Dr. Axvoid, a being of pure energy, pulsed with agitation as he presented the latest findings from Nexus VI. The data cannot be disputed. His voice resonated through the chamber. Commander Rodriguez's biological adaptations have progressed beyond anything we thought possible. Her DNA is actively rewriting itself in response to environmental challenges. The holographic display showed cellular structures that defied conventional biology. Isabella's body hadn't just adapted to survive Nexus VI. It had begun to thrive there. Observe these metabolic readings. Dr. Axvoid highlighted a particularly shocking data set. Her cells have developed what appears to be a symbiotic relationship with the planet's crystalline structures. She's not just processing them for nutrition anymore. She's incorporating their properties into her cellular matrix. Professor Zura, a hive mind specialist, split into multiple consciousness streams to process the information. But this violates fundamental principles of evolution. Such changes should take thousands of generations, not mere months. The footage showed Isabella conducting her own experiments, documenting changes in her physiology with remarkable scientific detachment. She had noticed that her skin now had a slight crystalline sheen, and she could sense the planet's electromagnetic fields. Her latest medical examination revealed something even more extraordinary. Dr. Axvoid continued. Her neural pathways have developed new structures that allow her to interface directly with the crystalline formations. She's literally developing a sixth sense. The recording played Isabella's casual explanation. "Oh, that? Yeah, I started getting these weird feelings about where the mineral deposits were. figured it might be useful for mapping the planet's resources. Did you know some of these crystals can store and process information? I'm working on a new type of computer using them. The council erupted in another round of heated debate. A gas-based entity near the front actually solidified from shock. Dr. Axvoid waited for order to restore before continuing. We must accept that our understanding of biological adaptation requires complete revision. Commander Rodriguez isn't just surviving Nexus VI. She's evolving into something entirely new. The human crystal hybrid that can withstand conditions we thought universally lethal. The implications were staggering. If one human could achieve this level of adaptation in months, what were they truly capable of? The Council's previous classification of humans as resilient primates seemed woefully inadequate. Moreover, Dr. Axvoid concluded, these changes appear to be stable. When briefly removed from Nexus VI's environment for testing, her new abilities remained. She isn't just adapting. She's permanently evolving. The Council sat in stunned silence as they contemplated a species that could rewrite its own biology at will. The galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. Continuing with Part 4 in the next response, the Galactic Science Summit was unprecedented in its scope. Representatives from every major research institution had gathered to discuss the implications of what was now called the human adaptation phenomenon. Chief researcher Quantum Flux, a being of pure mathematical probability, projected the latest findings. The Rodriguez Protocol, as we're calling it, has completely revolutionized our approach to environmental adaptation research. The data streams showed dozens of new projects inspired by Isabella's survival strategies. Her better-than-nothing breathing box had led to breakthroughs in atmospheric processing technology. Her crystal cultivation techniques had spawned an entirely new field of mineral-organic hybrid materials. But perhaps most significantly, Quantum Flux continued. Her ability to survive and thrive on Nexus VI has forced us to reconsider every limitation we thought we understood about biological life. The summit displayed research from across the galaxy. Species previously thought confined to narrow environmental ranges were being tested for adaptive potential. Isabella's techniques for using local materials were being applied to survival situations across countless worlds. The human approach to impossible situations has proven illuminating, Quantum Flux noted. Their tendency to view lethal conditions as interesting challenges rather than absolute barriers has led to numerous technological breakthroughs. The presentation showed Isabella's latest innovation, a planetary shield system using the crystal formation she'd studied. She had theorized that if her body could adapt to Nexus VI's radiation, perhaps the planet itself could be adapted to be more hospitable. We've had to create entirely new research protocols, Quantum Flux explained. The old models of possible versus impossible no longer apply. As Commander Rodriguez put it, impossible just means nobody's figured it out yet. The implications for galactic science were enormous. Every field, from medicine to engineering, was being revolutionized by this new understanding of adaptation and survival. Final part coming in the next response. One standard year after her crash landing on Nexus VI, Commander Isabella Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Council, her slightly crystalline skin catching the light in ways that still fascinated xenobiologists. Distinguished council members, she began, I'm here to propose something unprecedented. We shouldn't classify Nexus VI as an uninhabitable death world. We should designate it as humanity's first extreme environment research center. The council chamber erupted in murmurs of disbelief. Isabella continued, unfazed by the reaction. Her time on Nexus VI had changed her in ways that went beyond the physical. She now possessed a unique understanding of how to bridge the gap between conventional wisdom and impossible achievement. My experience has proven that what we consider impossible is often just unexplored. The crystal organic hybrid technologies I developed there could revolutionize everything from space travel to medical treatment. And I'm just one human. Imagine what a proper research team could accomplish. Dr. Zix 427, who had first presented her case to the galactic medical community, supported her proposal. Commander Rodriguez's achievements have already transformed our understanding of biology, adaptation, and survival. This could be the beginning of a new era in galactic science. The Council's decision was unanimous. Nexus VI would become the galaxy's first extreme environment research institute, with Isabella as its director. The planet that should have killed her would instead become a crucible for innovation. You know what the funny thing is? Isabella remarked during the ceremony, her crystalline features catching the light. Back on Earth, we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Turns out necessity works pretty well on other planets too. As news of the Institute spread across the galaxy, applications flooded in from both human and alien researchers eager to study under the woman who had redefined possible. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate a human's ability to adapt, survive, and thrive. Years later, when asked about her experience, Isabella would simply smile, her crystal-flecked eyes twinkling. Sometimes the worst place in the galaxy turns out to be exactly where you need to be. Besides, the view during the radiation storms is actually quite beautiful, once you adapt to see it. The legacy of Nexus VI and Commander Rodriguez's survival would continue to influence galactic science for generations to come. Her story became required reading at every xenobiology institution in known space, not just as a study in human resilience, but as a reminder that the impossible is often simply the unexplored, waiting for someone stubborn enough to survive it.